Hey guys. All right. All right. I'm so super excited to share what I have to share with you today. What I want to talk about in the conversation that I would like to have is talking about the fact that you are always winning at the game that you are currently playing. You're always winning at the game that you are playing. Here is the question, though. The question is, what game are you saying you're playing, and what's the game that you're actually playing? All right. So this conversation is coming on the heels of me celebrating yet another 100K month or six-figure month, however you want to look at it. I think we did a little over $130,000 in the last 38 days. And so I want to talk about this. Now, this is not my first time hitting six-figure months. So I want to share with you this journey that I've been on to get here. And as a matter of fact, last year in November, I had my first multi-six-figure month. We did over $341,000 in sales at my Game On Live event. So that was exciting and amazing and incredible. But I want to talk to you about this journey that I've been on to get there and what needs to happen. And I remember it was only 3 years ago that I was declaring that I was going to do a six-figure month. I was like, okay, this is going to be the year I'm going to do a six-figure month. And actually, that year, I did not do a six-figure month. I was at an event with one of my friends and colleagues, one of my good friends and colleagues. She runs an event every year called Expand. And I remember standing up. It was her first Expand and talking about what I was declaring that I was going to do. And it was this elusive six-figure month that I wanted to do. And so it seemed so far off for me to have a six-figure month, but I knew that I could do it. And really, I was doing it because I wanted to prove something to myself. That was really the truth. That year, however, my biggest month was $86,000. I didn't hit a six-figure month that year. I did an $86,000 month that year. So I didn't quite make it. I was close, but no cigar. And I was speaking at another friend's mastermind event, and I'm sharing this story of wanting to hit a six-figure month, and that's what I'm working on right now. And this year I think at the time it was November. So it was November already, and I was like, man, I haven't done it, but I did an $86,000 month this month. And one of the ladies who was on the panel, this success panel that we had with me, she said, Shameca, I just want to say something to you. And she looked at me and she said, you realize that $1 million a year is $83,333 per month, right? And I was like, it hit me like, wow, I'm focusing on the wrong thing. I was winning at the game that I was playing, but I was focusing on the wrong thing. And that just stuck with me. It stuck with me because while I was trying to focus on this achievement goal of 100K month, the reality of it is I already had the makings of the $1 million. I knew how to make $83,000 in a month. I had made 86. All I had to do was learn how to collapse time and do that over and over again. That day, she shifted my perspective. By the way, full circle moment, that lady just in the past couple of weeks became my client. So I'm telling you this, and here's why this is important, because you always win at the game you're playing. And what I want most of you to understand is you're likely focused on the wrong thing. Today, someone asked me, because I did a celebration of my six-figure month, because I almost didn't celebrate. There's a lot going on in the world right now. And I celebrate it because I feel like we need to normalize, like we need normalcy in our lives. We need to continue to look at the good in life as well as be consciously aware of what's going on around us. And so she asked me, the question she asked was, so how much of that was one-on-one, right? We get hung up on things. How much of that was one-on-one? And like, can you break that down? I'm like, sure, I can break it down. I mean, I'll break it down right now and let you guys know. And I will probably break down some numbers, but I don't have any like solely specific one-on-one programs. And it's because of the way that my containers are created. I believe that the group component is a huge part of my program success and my client success. So even for those who are at my higher level programs who get private access to me, they are still in a hybrid program that is group. So I don't know what the reason behind the question was, but it leads me to this place where we focus on the wrong things, right? For me, the question is, Shameca, who did you have to become the kind of person who went from doing six figures a year to six figures in a month, to multiple six figures in a month? What has transpired? How have you changed? What are your biggest lessons? Because really, this journey is not so much about the doing, it's about the being. It's about the becoming. And that is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned as I've expanded and grown into who I have become today, who I am today, the leader that I am today. Consistency, write that down, got me to my first 100K. Consistency is what got me to my first 100K. Now, it wasn't 100K in a month, it was 100K in a year. But prior to that, after losing my first business that was a multiple six-figure business a year business, or six-figure revenue a year business, I had not done it in like almost a decade. It just had been a long, hard road with the feeling like a fraud and the shame of losing everything. It took a lot for me to peel the layers back to really honor my journey and start trusting and valuing myself again. And I'm going to talk about like where that trust in yourself is super, super important, right? But consistency is what got me to 100K. And so I had a coach. I still have him. He's still my coach. And he looked at me, he looked at what I was doing one year, and it was working really well. Like I was selling really well. The program was working, and that program was called Play Big. And it's a program I still teach today. And Play Big is about 5 years old. We're in our 12th round of Play Big. It starts in July, the 12th round of Play Big. He said, this is good. And what I want you to do is I want you to commit to me that in your entire business model, you won't change anything for just 12 months. And I was like, ooh, I'm a creative. I love to like change things. I like things to be changed up. I like spontaneity. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. I will commit to not change anything for 12 months. And I did it that first 12 months. I hit six figures for the first time again in a long time, and it felt good. So I committed to another 12 months. 24 months later, it was almost 3 years into it before I began to make any changes to what I was doing. And what I learned is that there is power in consistency. So write that down. Consistency, and I'm going to break this down a little bit more in just a minute, got me to my first 100K month. Consistency, being willing to be bored, being willing to do the same thing, being willing to say the same things. I am saying things in my marketing that I have been saying for 6 years, 5-6 years. And you guys are really just starting to repeat it back to me, really just starting to get it. I've been teaching these concepts for a while the same way, and I'm just like getting into my body about them. So consistency is what got me to my first 100K month. The next level for me was expansion. So expansion is what got me to multiple six figures. Expansion is what got me to multiple six figures. So now it's no big deal. It's not a big thing for me to do a six-figure month. I've normalized it, right? In fact, like I talked about, I did my first multi-six-figure month in November last year, right? And now what I'm working on is normalizing that, normalizing multi-six figures, right? Making that a normal, because it wasn't. After I did that multi-six figures, like I felt the big contraction probably for about 90 days or so before I got right back into my groove of doing what I normally do. So I'm working on normalizing that. And here's the deal. We can normalize, and we've normalized struggling. We normalize just enough, right? Making just enough to pay our bills, to call ourselves a mogul, to buy a pair of Louboutins, to have a nice car, nice house, live a nice life. And we've normalized, and I know that I normalized that a $5,000, $10,000, $20 million, I said 10,000, a $5 million, $10 million, or $20 million business, a year business, that those are not for people like me. That was something that was a normal thought process for me. I even normalized that rich people, and talking about rich people was something outside of me. And now what I'm normalizing is I am rich people, right? That mindset, normalizing those types of things is what keeps you stuck at the level that you're at. Like somehow six figures in a month has to be this crazy thing that you do, right? Or it requires you to spend so much time with a particular person. It has to be private. It can't be group. All of those things. That's what keeps you stuck, right? And being stuck at that level of thinking, of being, it's no longer an acceptable level to play at if you have big goals and big dreams. And so what we need to do is begin to normalize the making and the receiving and the charging of big money now. Normalize the making, receiving, and charging of big money now. Making big money, receiving, allowing yourself to be compensated with big money, and charging people big money. Normalize that. Normalize it. All right. So expansion was the second phase. And now I'm in this new phase that I'm realizing, I've already pretty much done it, but now I'm even taking it to a higher and higher level. And that's transcending, right? Transcending, write that down, transcending. This is where I'm looking at creating a multi-million-dollar business. I'm at this level of transcending. What's happening is I'm changing the game I'm playing. I'm transcending anything I've ever seen or anything I've ever done, and even anything anyone in my family has ever done before, because that's what it's going to take. So write those three things down, and we're going to dive into them, because this is what it's going to take in order for you to hit 100K months consistently, or even at all, right? In order for you to hit your first six figures, if that's where you are, in order for you to hit make a $10 million, a $5 million, $1 million a year business, right? You're meant for multi-millions, right? But somehow you're kind of stuck where you are. So consistency, expansion, transcending. All of these are about changing the game that you're playing. Consistency, expansion, transcending. My biggest lesson on this journey as I play this game is this: every next level in your life and in your business will demand a different you. Every next level in your life and in your business will demand a different you. You can't create those new results, those bigger dreams, visions, goals that you have from the who that you are today. It's not going to happen. It's going to demand that you up-level who you be, because it's about who you are. Most people are trying to raise their game and play a bigger game by putting emphasis on what they do. They're playing the wrong game. They're focusing on the wrong thing. And again, you always win at the game you decide to play. So that emphasis is on doing instead of who they are becoming, who you are becoming. This is the biggest lesson that I've learned. It's in my becoming that I expand and engage with and impact and influence more people. And that expansion rolls over and spills over. That overflow, it overflows into my bank account. It's in my becoming. So in order for you to be able to change the game, and in order for you to be able to know a different game or see a different game or start to play a different game, you've got to start by understanding the game you're currently in. Remember, I started this whole thing off by saying, you always win at the game you're playing. You always win at the game you're playing. Question is, what's the game you're playing, or that you say you're playing, and what's the game you're actually playing? See, I used to play not to lose. I wasn't playing to win. I was just playing to make sure I wasn't on the bottom. Then I realized there was a different way to look at the game. So you start by playing the game differently. And that was interesting. It was kind of difficult for me to start playing my game differently, because I was doing things that other people weren't doing. You guys have probably experienced me celebrating my clients' wins. I call those pal posts. At the time when I started doing this years ago, no one else was doing it. And in fact, people were shaming people and looking down on people for publicly declaring and talking about how much money they made or how much money their clients made. Now everybody's doing it. It's like, hey, here's a way for you to get more clients, right? But I had to play the game differently. And when you do this, as you start to play your game differently, you also start to recreate the game over and over and over again. So I had to recreate the game to get to six figures. And then I had to recreate my game in order to get to multiple six figures. And then I had to recreate the game to get to a six-figure month, and recreate the game to get to a multiple six-figure month, right? And I'm recreating the game to get to $1 million right now, right? We're planning on doing that inside of the next 12 months. Once you start to recreate your game, then what happens is you change the game altogether. and you start playing your own game that other people play inside. That's the game changer. And that's when you're at transcending, right? So I want to break down these 3 levels, and I want you to stick with me, because most people think that winning, you getting where you want to be, you building a dynasty and leaving a legacy, and again, transcending anything that you've ever done, or even for generations to come, right? That's never been done in generations of your family, or for the future, especially around money, right? Money is the teacher in this thing. This is how I've been utilizing money as my teacher. In order for you to be able to do that, it's about your becoming. It's about who you be. It's not about the strategy, right? So there's 3 levels to this thing. It's 3 levels to winning the game: consistency, expansion, and transcending. And what happens is you can get stuck at each level because you get acclimated to it. Listen to me. We get stuck at each level because we get acclimated to it. I was stuck below 6 figures because I was comfortable there. I was acclimated at that space. I had to do something different. I had to change the game, right, that I was playing and who I was being in order to be able to get to the next level, right? So the only reason why you're stuck at the level that you're at, if you've been trying to do this for quite some time, I don't care what the goal is, millions, 6 figures, 6-figure months, whatever it is because you're acclimated to where you are. You're acclimated to where you are. If you want to achieve the highest levels, you got to actually learn how to recreate your game over and over and over again. So today, I'm going to give you an overview of my methodology of how to go from focusing on achieving, like I was, I just want to hit a 6-figure month, or I just want to do 6 figures a year, right? So how to go from focusing on achieving your first big revenue goal, like, again, 6-figure month or 6-figure years, or I want to do $1 million. I want to cross the $1 million mark. Because I remember always saying, I want to have $1 million business. And I never quite understood that I needed to change. Like, how I didn't even have the how for that. I didn't have the capacity to understand how the makings of that would happen. Now, when I'm mapping out my multi-6-figure dynasty, when I'm mapping it out, it's so clear to me, right? Because who I am, my capacity is like vast right now. It wasn't when I was claiming I was going to be a multimillionaire, but I didn't have the how, right? I didn't have the being to possess that, okay? So remember, these next level goals, to achieve big goals consistently, right? To absolutely change the way you play the game, it's not even about the goals. It's not even about the fact that I did a 6-figure month. It's about the becoming. And so I'm going to walk you through these 3 stages that you go to in order to get to the next level. I'm going to help you identify what stage you're in and what's required to get to the next stage. Okay. The funny thing about this is, as I was like writing this, I'm like, this is really funny because my 3 programs that I have, they actually correlate to these phases. Supernova Sales School is about consistency and momentum. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then Play Big is about expansion. It's about like recreating the game that you're playing over and over and over again, so that you're like collapsing time and making more money than you ever thought possible in a short period of time. And then my next level authority program is this piece of transcending. And I was almost in tears as I was writing it, because it reminded me that you got to be in the game for the long haul, for the clarity to come, I've been teaching this stuff for years. This clarity came while I was typing this training for you. So let's talk about this first stage of consistency. So if you're in this phase of consistency, right, it's about getting consistent. This is where you're getting yourself to doing $70,000 to $100,000. So this is people who are under 6 figures, right? You are in this phase. The focus is consistency and momentum. It's where you build trust in yourself. And I want to talk about that. It's where you build trust in yourself. It's where you prove your work. It's where you get crystal clear. Does my work create results? What do I say that makes people respond to me? It's proof of work. It's where you're showing, hey, I'm a badass at what I do, because you're getting the results over and over and over again. And you're building this trust in yourself, right? You get to the place at this stage when you can be consistent, where you've replaced or you've up-leveled your income, again, that $70,000 to $100,000 mark, and you're actually beginning to build your dream. You're feeling like, I got something here. This is incredible and this is amazing. Look, mom, I got a business, right? You feel good about it. People don't think you're just sitting at home doing nothing because you actually have receipts, right? It's about you getting to the place where you can count on yourself to create revenue in your business, cash flow in your business, anytime you want to. It's getting to the place, that's what this consistency is, because we like consistency, right? It's getting to the place where you trust you, where you trust you. And why is this consistency and trust in you important? It's important because when you say, I'm going to be a millionaire, the first person you need to convince is you. You got to believe it. And oftentimes I see people don't hit their goals because they've been with themselves on the entire journey of saying they're going to do a thing and rolling their revenue goals over year, still saying, I'm going to hit six figures, I'm going to hit six figures, and never doing it. And that erodes your trust in yourself. So then when you do try to go for a bigger goal or say, I want to have 100K a month, the reason why it doesn't happen is because you don't trust you. You need your spirit and your mind to be aligned with your mouth so that when you say a thing, there is no doubt. You're like, I'm doing the thing is done. Your words go before you, your mind and your body align to create. Consistency builds that trust. I know that if I need to make money, like whatever dollar amount I need to make, it's like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And I go do it. That's how it happens. That's how I make $130,000 in 38 days. Because I just go do what I said I was going to do. Right? So you're building that trust in yourself. You need that trust to hit those big goals. All right. So consistency, replacing your income, building that trust up, replacing or up leveling your income, right? Or building that trust in yourself. All right. The next phase is expansion. At this level, you created more consistency, but then you got stuck, right? You're plateaued. You're doing the same thing year after year. I've had clients come to me at this level, and this is the level where we do play big, right? I've had clients come to me at this level and they've done $270,000 a year for 3 years in a row. I'm like, how you do that? How are you $30,000 away from the next six-figure level? And heck, we can even quantum leap that, but how do you do that every single year? Remember, you get acclimated. You're used to doing the same thing you've been doing, and the same thing you've been doing and the same person you've been being is going to create a similar result that you've already created. It's why you're stuck, right? So at this level, you have the consistency, but now you're stuck. You've plateaued. Now it's about breaking through the barrier. And see, most people don't look at it like this. So we just stay at the place that we're at. Now we have to look at who do I need to become to break that barrier, to break that plateau. That's why Play Big is significantly focused on who you're being. Right? There's very few strategies inside of my Play Big program because it's about implementing what you already know from a different you. I'm going to say that again. It's the space where you implement what you already know. You're already brilliant. You're already badass. You're already creating results, but it's from a different you. It's about who you're being. It's about up leveling who you're being. It's about playing a bigger game. At this level, you're learning how to play the same game, but bigger and better. Right? The same game you've been playing, but better, bigger, expanding, recreating yourself over and over and over again. It's why my clients inside of that program come in and they're able, that environment and that container, they're able to do what they did in an entire year. Revenue that took them an entire year to create, they're able to do it inside of a span of 90 days and sometimes less. Some people have done it in weeks. It's about breaking through the barrier. Specifically that plateau barrier, right? You'll break through that plateau that's kept you playing small, that has you blocked from your next level of income, sales, revenue, clients, success, wherever you've been stuck, right? And in order for you to be able to do that, here's what's missing in this expansion level. Expansion doesn't happen in comfort zones, right? To expand, the container has to grow. The container has to be different. So you need an environment that beckons you to rise. You need an environment, and this is why community is so important. And I can't remember who asked me, like, was this one-on-one work in order to hit this 6-figure month? And I'm like, no, like all of my programs have this community container aspect to it because of it. You need this environment that calls you and beckons you to rise to your highest levels, that's requires you to achieve more than you've ever achieved. An environment that says, how dare you not show up as your most powerful self? And part of that is about charging more, and part of it is about being more. It really is about who you be. And who you're being and being more, both charging more too, is what's required, right? Being more is what's required if you want to charge more. It's about blowing your mind with what's possible. Like, how big can I go? And with this newfound trust that I've built in myself with consistency, when I say I'm going to do a thing, then I'm impeccable with my word, and it just aligns, and I do the thing faster than I've ever done before. With speed, we collapse time, and we blow our own mind with what's possible, hitting goals you never even believed or thought were possible before, and breaking those plateaus and barriers and limits that have blocked you in the past. Right? And while there is this expansion at this level, right? It's still playing the game of, I want to get to a place of financial freedom. So that's where you're focused. You're still like, okay, I want to make more money, right? I want to do more. I want my bank account to be bigger. I want to become more. And so what I want to do is, and what we're doing also is getting you to the place where you're breaking your own barriers, right? That you've been stuck at. And so once I help you do that, that's when we go into this transcending, right? Showing you how to do that, how to break your own barriers over and over and over again is what you do at the expansion level, right? And these 3 happen all the time as you're going to a new level, right? You start, I got to get consistent. So one of the things I'm doing now is trying to make multiple 6-figure months consistent for myself, right? So I'm going back to consistency, then I'll move into expansion, and then I'll go into transcending that, right? It works. It's not just like, oh, I'm at under 6 figures and I'm consistency. It's at every new level. You're looking at, where do I need to start looking at consistency again, right? Where do I need to start looking at consistency? And now where do I need to go into expansion, which is doing it over and over and over again, but from a different me each time, expanding who I be, expanding my capacity. And then you move into transcending so that it's nothing that you've ever done before, which is what I'm going to talk to you guys about now. Okay. Moving into transcending. So transcend is this final stage, right? And it's like an infinity stage, right? You're going to continually be doing it, but this is the place you want to move to. And at this level, you're learning how to change your own game. This is where I am now, right? In my normalizing of this multi-6-figure months, or normalizing more money in the bank account. This is about shifting the trajectory of generational wealth. This is about crafting and impacting and leaving a legacy, and what needs to happen in order to do that. It's about building a dynasty, right? It's about transcending something that you've never seen before, that's never been created in your family before. You have to transcend all of that, everything you ever were, all that ever was for you. And in order to arrive at another level, you gotta do that. You must transcend everything that ever was. So this is what we do inside of my Next Level Authority program. It's about changing the game. It's a completely different game than what you're playing right now, because you want to make more money. And in order to do that, you have to completely go beyond expansion, completely go beyond consistency, and shift everything about who you be, the game of who you're being. If you've been watching me on this journey for years, you've seen this at work. My leadership now is completely different. I'm finding my stride. I'm not looking to anybody else to tell me what that's supposed to look like. It's coming from the inside of me. It's coming from the depths of who I be. That's what transcending is about. This is the game of what really drives you. This is the game of who are you? Who are you really? Who are you really being? This is the game of money, right? So we're transcending all of those things, transcending who you're being, transcending what drives you, transcending the game of money. And this is the game of legacy, right? It's a new game. It's a game of dynasty. The new game is transforming yourself so that you actually transform those who follow in your footsteps, from clients to family. I'm going to say that again. This level is a new game, and it's about transforming who you be so that you actually transform just by osmosis, just for the very nature of them being in your atmosphere, those who follow in your footsteps. Because the truth is, we typically will become what we've already seen. We'll become who our mentors are. We'll become who our parents are until we decide to change, until we decide that that's not it, that you want to even do more or have more. And that takes courage. That takes courage. So what you're asking yourself is, how do I go beyond what anybody else has ever done that I've ever seen? How do I go beyond mogul status, right? Mogul status is just like buying things, making money to buy things, right? Making money to buy Louboutins, making money to have a nice house, making money to say that you have a decent amount of money. And we want to go beyond that status to actually shifting the trajectory of generational wealth in your family. And in order for that to happen, you absolutely must. You have to rewire everything about yourself. And that's the journey I've been on, right? You have to rewire everything about yourself. And at every new level, you're learning something new about yourself as you're implementing that. And money becomes the teacher. At every new level, as you're rewiring, you're learning something new. And I always say this, it's not new level, new devil. It's new devil, same old, new level, same old devil. Whatever stopped you from getting the figures is what's going to stop you from getting your multi-millions. It's going to stop you from whatever stopped you at consistency is the same thing that's going to stop you or has the capacity or the ability or the probability or the possibility to stop you at the transcending level. You've got to be aware of that. And now we're rewiring. We're rewiring. Remember my statement about I am rich people? That's me rewiring. Like, that's just a thing for me. I don't think about rich people as something outside of myself any longer. And again, money is the thing that's teaching me. So money becomes the thing that teaches you. It's an incredible mirror. It's an incredible mirror for lots of things. It's an incredible mirror for how you show up with people. It's an incredible mirror of your impact, right? Business becomes the thing that's teaching you. My business teaches me so many lessons. And so you're expanding and expanding and transcending more and more your capacity to have and hold larger and larger sums of money. And that requires you to up-level yourself continually, over and over and over again. The reason why I didn't do a 6-figure month that first year, I was like, I want to do a 6-figure month, because my capacity, I couldn't hold it. I couldn't hold it. Right? I couldn't hold it. I desired it, but something about it I wasn't ready for. Who I was being could not hold it. I was so close. And listen, this is a very different game than everybody else is playing. You know, people want me to get on and talk about XYZ steps in sales and use YouTube and do a funnel and all of those things. I'm like, chuck all that stuff. It's about this. Right? So as you're growing, while there's likely expansion happening, you're still focused on like the financial part of it. I want you to start looking at like, where am I? Like, what phase am I in? Am I in consistency? Am I in expansion phase? Right? So consistency is getting to the place where you trust yourself, right? Get consistent with creating revenue. Get consistent with trusting yourself that when you say you're going to do a thing, you do a thing. When you say you're going to have, you know, a $20,000 a month or a $50,000 a month or whatever, that it actually happens. And then you move into expansion where you already have the skills, like you know what you're doing, but now it's time to like expand who you're being. So you play the game again and again and again because you get it down pat. Like, I know how to do this. I trust myself. I got it, but let's do it at a new level. Let's do it at a new level. And then you move into transcending anything that has ever existed before, anything you've ever experienced before. And inside of NLA, which is my next level authority program, we completely reorient you to the new business game that you're playing. We're transcending and transcending and transcending, and that takes work. So for me right now, which is why I want to give out one of these shirts, and what I realize with everything that's going on, the game I'm playing is my business is my activism. right? It means that in my business, I'm constantly taking myself higher and higher, because if I'm constantly taking myself higher and higher, then I'm taking other people with me, because a rising tide lifts all ships. The reason why I share my results and celebrate my wins, one, I want you to normalize making big money. I want you to see somebody who looks regular, just like you, who didn't have a silver spoon in her mouth, who didn't have, this crazy, amazing opportunity that came and like threw it all in her lap. I had to work for this. And most of the work I had to do was on myself. Being willing to fail forward, being willing to be vulnerable over and over and over again, and being willing to recreate the game. Being willing to also recreate it to the point where I'm now playing my own game. I'm not playing everybody else's game, right? And so as I'm doing this, because a rising tide lifts all ships, I'm taking people with me. And we're going to get where we want to go. And here's why. And this is why my business is my activism. Because I believe and I know that money in the hands of good people will create change, right? So you got to get clear when it's time to transcend. What's that big, deep who you be and why that drives you to show up in a different way and recreate this game every day? So I want you to look at creating money in your business differently. Consistency, expansion, transcend, right? You get consistent, then you begin to expand, expanding your capacity to receive, right? Expanding who you be over and over and over again. And then you want to transcend anything and everything that you've ever experienced before. That's how you do this. And I follow that cycle over and over and over again, becoming a newer, better, more powerful me. That's how it works. This is an important process to growth, right? Revenue growth, business growth, personal growth, growth in your life. I am in a stage where there's no one that has my lineage or DNA who has done some of the things that I'm doing. I'm now paving the way. And so I'm in that transcending stage, and it's a little bit scary. And I'm working on my courage muscles. And so I want to break down this $130,000 a month because I want to squash that. But I also want to remind you, you always win at the game you're playing, right? The game you're playing is not like, oh, how exactly did she do that? It's like, who do I need to become so that I can get into the consistency phase and move into the expansion phase and then move into transcending. Okay. And so what I want to just share is this is the first time that I sold a lower end offer in order to hit a 6-figure month. And so we sold Sales School, which is $2,000 a month. And I think we sold about 32 of those. And then we up-leveled a few people into Play Big, which is a $10,000 program. And then one person into my $35,000 mastermind. So that's how the numbers came in. It's not about like, in order for me to hit six figures in a month, I've got to like have this one-on-one program, or I've got to have a massive amount of people in this other program, because I've done it in different ways. I've hit 6 figures in a month where, I spoke from a stage and, twice that month and, made, $25,000 at this event, $20,000 at this event, and then sold my other programs. I've hit 6 figures in a month where I've just sold 10 people into Play Big. I've hit 6 figures in a month where there's been a compilation of different things. So it's going to come how it comes. I think the biggest thing is understanding it's not about you having a clear path. Like I got to know that it's got to look this way, because there's no one that I know that creates 6 figures a year. I'm going to use that as a number because people will say, I want to hit 6 figures. And the reason why I'm using this number, even though a lot of my clients come to me already doing multiple 6 figures, I'm sharing this because only, I think it's like, I don't want to give the wrong number. It's a really low number percentage. I don't have it in front of me of people in the expert coach consultant space that actually ever hit 6 figures. So the majority of people all around you who are in this space haven't even hit 6 figures. But in order for us to make change, we need more money in the hands of good people. That's no longer an acceptable thing. It shouldn't be that way. And the only reason why it is that way is because the majority of people are playing of the wrong game. So I want you to play the right game. It's about who you're becoming. You've got to shift that. You've got to learn how to move through these phases that I'm talking about. It changes everything. It changes everything, right? I don't even know where I was going. So I can't even remember what I was going to talk to you guys about. But the numbers can come how they come. The question is, who are you being that's asking the question, you know, how much should I charge in my program? And wrong question, wrong game. Charge whatever you want to charge. Like for everything that anybody who's watching me or listening to me under the sound of my voice is selling, I can find or know personally somebody who sells that same thing for 6 figures or more, right? Because it's about the game they're playing. You know, my daughter said she wanted to do something and someone told her, go look at what everybody else who's doing this right now, who has been doing it already, is charging, and then start there, because they felt like what she was charging was too much. I was like, they don't know who her mama is. It ain't got nothing to do with that. At all. You don't base your pricing on someone else's money mindset. That's not what this training is about, but that just came to me. Write that down. Don't base your pricing on somebody else's money mindset. Everybody's going through their own becoming, right? You got to get clear on what yours is. And so I also want to invite you to this. The doors to Play Big are opening, which is my expansion level. They are opening right now, and I have 8 more seats available. We start in July. So I think it's the week of July 10th is when we start Play Big. If that expansion and breaking through that plateau is speaking to you, reach out to me. Just shoot me a message, and we'll chat about it, and we'll see if Play Big is a good fit for you. But you'll hear me talking about it a little bit more as we enroll people and fill these last few seats that we have left in that program. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm going to take off. I'll see you guys next week. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching my show, my channel. Here's what I want you to do. If you really love what you've been listening to, I want you to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. No, really, leave a comment. Like right now. I'm not going to stop talking until you leave a comment. Seriously, leave a comment.